The sky turned red on the day the Krell ships arrived. June stood at his laboratory window, watching the last evacuation ships rise into the clouds. Their metal bodies caught the sunset's glow as they pushed through the atmosphere, carrying the final groups of Earth's people to safety. "Professor, we need to go underground now," said Sook, his assistant. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she held the tablet. June nodded but didn't move. His eyes followed the trails of smoke left by the departing ships. Somewhere up there was his daughter, Minji, and his grandson. They had begged him to come with them. He had refused. 5 minutes, he said. The Krell had appeared 7 days ago. Their ships, black, sharp-edged things that blocked out the sun, had positioned themselves over every major city on Earth. Their message was simple: surrender or die. The world's leaders had tried to fight back. They failed. Then they tried to talk. They failed again. In the end, they had just 6 days to save as many people as they could. June turned away from the window and looked at the small team that remained with him. 5 scientists who had chosen to stay behind. They all knew what was coming. "The last ship is away," said Tam, looking up from his screen. "The Krell are moving into attack position." June picked up his bag and walked to the elevator. The others followed. They descended deep below the ground, down to a place the Krell might not find. At least not right away. The underground lab was cold and bright. Its white walls were covered in maps and charts of Earth's inner layers. In the center stood a large machine that hummed with power. "Begin the final checks," June ordered. As his team worked, June went to a small desk in the corner. He pulled out an old device, a video recorder. He had to send one last message to Minji. He pressed record. "Minji, if you're watching this, then our plan worked. You're safe on the ships, and I'm still here on Earth." He paused, thinking of her face. "I know you're angry that I stayed. I know you don't understand. But some secrets can't leave Earth, and some work can't be abandoned." Above them, the first attacks began. The lab shook as the Krell weapons hit the surface. Dust fell from the ceiling. "What we found under the Pacific Ocean 3 years ago changed everything," June continued. "The ancient technology, the engines built into Earth itself, it was never meant to be found so soon. But the Krell gave us no choice. Another blast, stronger this time. The lights flickered. We're going to activate the planetary engines, Minji. We're going to move Earth." Sook rushed over. "Professor, we're out of time. The Krell have started their main attack." June nodded and looked back at the camera. "Remember Earth as it was, and watch the skies." He ended the recording and sent it into space, aimed at Minji's ship. The team gathered around the central machine. On screens around them, they watched as cities burned. The Krell ships fired relentlessly, turning forests to ash and oceans to steam. "Planetary engine activation in 3, 2, 1. Tam counted down. June pressed his hand against the scanner. The machine's hum grew louder, then became a roar that drowned out even the sounds of destruction from above. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something ancient awakened. Metal plates that had been still for millions of years began to move. Energy patterns that had waited in darkness sparked to life. "It's working," whispered Sook, her eyes wide. The shaking grew violent. The team held onto anything bolted down. On their screens, they watched as the Krell ships continued their attack, unaware that their target was about to vanish. "Preparing for dimensional shift," said June, his voice calm despite everything. "Earth is about to leave the Sol system." A bright light filled the lab. The noise became unbearable. Then, suddenly, silence. The screen showed only stars, a new pattern of stars that no human had ever seen before. Earth had moved. 50 years passed. The human ships had found new homes on distant planets. They lived as guests of alien races who felt pity for the people who lost their world. Minji sat in her small office on the colony world of Nova. Her hair had turned white, and her hands were now wrinkled and spotted with age. But her eyes remained sharp as she studied the screen before her. "Play it again," she told the computer. A string of beeps and static filled the room. It was the third time this month that their deep space receivers had picked up this strange signal. No one else thought it was important. "Just random noise from a dying star," they said. But Minji knew better. There was a pattern here, something familiar. A knock on her door broke her concentration. "Come in," she called. Her son Tai entered. He wore the dark blue uniform of the defense fleet, with 3 silver stars on his shoulder marking him as a commander. His face was tired, with fresh cuts along his jawline. "You're back early," said Minji, standing to hug him. Tai returned the hug gently, then sat in the chair across from her desk. "The Krell attacked the outer colony on Haven. We drove them off, but they took prisoners first." Minji's heart sank. "How many?" 12. All scientists and engineers." Tai ran a hand through his short hair. "Mother, something strange is happening. The Krell are questioning the prisoners before taking them. Always the same questions. About what? About Earth. They want to know where Earth is." Minji froze. "But that makes no sense. They destroyed Earth. They watched it burn." Tai leaned forward. "Did they? None of us stayed to see the end. The last images we have are of the bombardment beginning. But something must have happened after that. Something that made the Krell unsure." Minji turned back to her screen, and the mysterious signal. Could it be? After all these years. "There's more," said Ta. "We captured a Krell scout. Before it died, it said something our translators didn't catch at first. It said, 'The moving world must be found.'" Minji's hands began to shake. She opened a drawer in her desk and pulled out an old data cube. It had been 50 years since she had watched the message from her father. His last words. "Remember Earth as it was, and watch the skies." "Tai, I need to show you something," she said. Before she could activate the cube, an alarm sounded throughout the building. Red lights flashed in the hallway. "Proximity alert," shouted a voice over the speakers. "Unidentified vessel approaching." Tai jumped to his feet and rushed to the window. In the sky above their colony, a small ship was entering the atmosphere. It wasn't Krell. Their ships were always black and angular. This one was round and silver, of a design no one recognized. "Get to the shelter," Tai ordered his mother. Minji stood her ground. "No, I want to see this." They watched as the ship landed in the central plaza. Colony defense forces surrounded it, weapons ready. The ship's door opened slowly. A young woman stepped out. She wore strange clothes made of a fabric that seemed to shift colors with each step. She raised her hands to show she carried no weapons. "My name is Hannah," the woman called out to the defensive line. "I come from Earth." A murmur ran through the crowd that had gathered. "Impossible," they said. Earth was gone. Minji pushed her way forward. Tai closed behind her. "Earth was moved," said Hannah, "and now it has sent me to find its lost children." She reached into a pocket and pulled out a small device. When she activated it, a hologram appeared above her palm, a spinning globe that showed a changed but recognizable Earth. Minji stepped closer, her eyes wide. "How?" Hannah looked directly at her. "Are you Minji, daughter of June?" Minji nodded, unable to speak. "Then you already know how," said Hannah with a smile. "Your father did it. He activated the planetary engines. Earth has been rebuilding itself for 50 years, healing from what the Krell did." Ta came to stand beside his mother. "And who are you to Earth?" Hannah bowed slightly to them both. "I am June's great-granddaughter. I am the messenger of Earth, and I've come to take you home." "You can't trust her," said Quan, the head of Nova's Security Council. He pounded his fist on the table. It could be a Krell trap. 20 people sat around the large meeting room. Minji and Tai were there, along with the colony's leaders. Hannah sat quietly at one end, watching them argue. "The Krell don't look like humans," said Ta. "They can't make themselves look like us. They could have forced a human to work for them. said another council member. Or this could be something else entirely. Minji had stayed silent, studying Hannah's face. There was something familiar there, something of her father, June. Let her prove what she claims, Minji finally said. Everyone turned to her. If she's from Earth, she must have evidence. Hannah nodded and stood up. I do. But I need access to your communication systems to show you. The council members looked at each other nervously. Giving a stranger access to their systems was dangerous. I'll take responsibility, said Ta. But she will be guarded at all times. They moved to the colony's communication center. Huge screens lined the walls, showing star maps and the positions of nearby ships. Hannah walked to the main control panel. 2 guards stood close behind her. The signal your mother has been detecting, Hannah said to Tai, is only part of a larger message. Earth has been sending it for years, but it's broken into pieces to avoid detection by the Krell. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. The screens flickered and changed to show wave patterns, the mysterious signal Minji had been studying. Now watch, said Hannah. She pressed a series of buttons, and the pattern changed. What had seemed like random noise began to form a clear sequence. I'm combining it with other signals your stations have received but classified as space background noise, Hannah explained. A voice suddenly filled the room, scratchy and faint, but unmistakably human. This is Earth calling the diaspora. We moved. We survived. These are our coordinates. Numbers flashed across the screen, star positions that made no sense at first. Minji gasped and grabbed Ta's arm. That's my father's voice. That's Jun. The voice continued. The Krell don't know where we are. We've been rebuilding. It's time for humanity to come home. The room fell silent when the message ended. Everyone stared at the coordinates on the screen. These can't be right, said one of the technicians finally. These coordinates are 16 light-years from where Earth used to be. That's because Earth moved, Hannah said simply. The planetary engines didn't just shift Earth a little bit. They took the entire planet to a new star system, one the Krell didn't know about. Quan shook his head. This is impossible. No technology could move an entire planet that far. The technology wasn't human, Hannah replied. My great-grandfather discovered it beneath the Pacific Ocean. It was left by a species much older than either humans or Krell, a species that built world ships to escape cosmic disasters. Tai studied the coordinates carefully. Even if this is true, it would take our fastest ship 3 months to reach this location. I can get us there in 2 weeks, said Hannah. The ship I arrived in uses the same technology that moved Earth. It bends space rather than traveling through it. Minji stood up, her decision made. I'm going. I need to see for myself. Tai straightened his uniform. I'll go too, with a small team. This is too risky, argued Quan. If it's a trap, then humanity loses 2 old people and a few soldiers, said Minji firmly. But if it's real, we find our home again. Hannah smiled. We should leave soon. The Krell have been following these signals too. They don't understand them yet, but they're getting closer to breaking the code. Ta nodded. I'll select my best people. We leave tomorrow. As they left the communication center, Minji pulled Hannah aside. There's something you're not telling us. Something important. Hannah's smile faded. Yes, Earth isn't just in a new place. Earth is changing. My great-grandfather's work didn't just save the planet. It woke it up. Hannah's ship moved through space in a way that made Ta feel sick. It didn't fly like normal ships. Instead, it seemed to fold the darkness around it, jumping forward in great leaps. We're almost there, said Hannah on the 14th day of their journey. Preparing to exit fold space, Minji sat beside Tai in the small bridge of the ship. 4 of Ta's best soldiers were with them, along with a science officer named Jin. They had all been quiet as they approached the coordinates, unsure what to expect. The ship gave a final lurch, and suddenly they were looking at a blue-green planet. It hung in space before them, familiar yet different. Earth, whispered Minji. pressing her hands against the viewing window. It really is Earth. But it wasn't exactly as they remembered it. The continents had similar shapes, but not identical. Mountains appeared where there had been none before. Parts of what had been ocean were now land. The damage from the Krell attacks was severe, explained Hannah. The planetary engines didn't just move Earth, they began to repair it. That process changed some of its geography. Todd pointed to something on the surface. What are those structures? Massive metal formations could be seen in what had once been the Pacific Ocean. Now it was a huge crater, exposing machinery that stretched for thousands of miles. The planetary engines, said Hannah. When they activated, they pushed up from under the ocean floor. That's what lets Earth move through space. Jin, the science officer, was scanning the planet. I'm detecting approximately 10,000 human life signs, all concentrated in what used to be Asia. So few? Asked Minji, her voice breaking. Only a small number stayed behind with June, said Hannah. My ancestors. We've been careful about population growth because resources were limited while Earth healed. Ta noticed something else. There are no cities, no large structures except for the engines. We live underground, said Hannah, in vast complexes built into the old mountain ranges. It was safer that way, especially during the early years when the surface was still toxic from the Krell weapons. The ship began its descent toward the planet. As they got closer, they could see vast green areas where forests had grown back. Lakes shimmered in the sunlight. It looked peaceful. They landed in a flat area near the foot of a mountain. When the door opened, Minji was the first to step out. She took a deep breath of Earth's air and tears filled her eyes. It smells different, she said. Sweeter. Tai and his team were more cautious, scanning the area for threats. But there was only open land around them, with the mountain rising behind. A section of the mountainside suddenly slid open, revealing a doorway. A group of people emerged, dressed in simple gray clothing. An older man led them. Welcome home, he said as he approached. I am Da, leader of Earth's caretakers. Minji stepped forward. My father was Jun. He started all this. Day bowed deeply to her. Jun is a hero to us. His genius saved Earth. Please come inside. There is much to show you. They followed Dai and his people into the mountain. The entrance closed behind them, and soft lights guided their way down a long tunnel. It opened into a vast cavern so large that it had its own weather. Clouds formed near the distant ceiling. This is our main living area, said Da. We have 5 complexes like this around the planet. The cavern held buildings, gardens, and what looked like parks. People moved about, going about their daily lives. Children played near a small lake. It's amazing, said Ta. But how do you power all this? The planetary engines produce more energy than we could ever use, said Da. But that's not the most important thing we need to show you. He led them to a smaller tunnel that sloped downward. What you need to see is below, said Da, his face growing serious. The true heart of Earth, the place where your father, Jun, made his greatest discovery and his greatest sacrifice. The tunnel went deep into the earth. Minji's old legs ached from the long walk, but she refused Da's offer of a transport. She wanted to feel every step of this journey. How much further? Asked Ta, walking close to his mother in case she needed support. We're almost there, said Da. The control center is at the very core of the planetary engine system. They finally reached a massive door made of a strange metal that seemed to shift color as they approached. Symbols that no one recognized covered its surface. These markings are from the ancients, explained Da. The beings who built the planetary engines millions of years ago. We still don't understand most of their language. He placed his hand on a panel beside the door. It hummed, and then slowly swung open. Inside was a circular room filled with technology unlike anything Minji or Ta had ever seen. Floating screens showed images of Earth from different angles. At the center of the room stood a pillar of light that reached from floor to ceiling. "This is the main control interface," said Da. "From here, we can direct Earth's movement through space." Jin, the science officer, stared at everything with wide eyes. "This is impossible. Our most advanced ships can barely manage interstellar travel. How can this technology move an entire planet?" "The ancients were far beyond us," said Hana. "They built these engines into dozens of planets as a way to escape cosmic disasters. Earth was one of their emergency vessels." Day led them to a wall covered with hand-drawn diagrams and notes. At the top, in large letters, was the name Juon. "Your father's work," Day told Minji. "When the Krell attacked, they accidentally triggered the engine's emergency systems. Jun was the only one who understood what was happening. He managed to take control of the activation process." "But how did he even know about these engines?" asked Ta. 3 years before the Krell arrived, there was an unusual earthquake in the Pacific," said Da. "It exposed part of the engine system. Jun was called in to study it. He kept his findings secret, fearing what might happen if the world knew." Minji touched the notes on the wall, recognizing her father's handwriting. "He always said Earth had more secrets than we could imagine. When the Krell began their attack, Jun had a choice," continued Da. "Let Earth be destroyed, or risk everything on technology he barely understood. He chose to activate the engines." A soft voice spoke from behind them, and he paid the price for that choice. They turned to see an elderly man in a wheelchair. His body was thin and frail, but his eyes were sharp and clear. "Grandfather," said Hana, rushing to his side. "Who is this?" asked Minji. "This is Gil," said Da with deep respect in his voice. "He was your father's closest assistant, the only other person who understood the engines." Gil looked at Minji with a sad smile. "You look like him. You have Jun's eyes. You knew my father." Minji knelt beside the wheelchair. "Please, tell me what happened to him." Gil's hands trembled as he reached out to take hers. "The engines require a guide when they activate, a mind to direct them. Jun connected himself to the system to make sure Earth went somewhere safe." "Connected?" asked Ta. "What does that mean?" "The interface was designed for the ancients, not humans," explained Gil. "Connecting to it meant Jun had to give up his physical form. His consciousness became part of the planetary system." Minji felt her heart break all over again. "He's gone." "Not gone," said Gil. "Changed. His mind is still here, spread throughout Earth's systems. Sometimes we can communicate with him, but it's difficult. He's different now, bigger than human." Day stepped forward. "We've brought you here because we need your help. The Krell have found us again. They've been tracking the energy signature of the engines, and this time they're bringing their full armada." "How long do we have?" asked Ta. 2 weeks, maybe less," said Da. "And there's something else you need to know." He looked at Minji. "Your father's consciousness is fading. Without him, we can't move Earth again." Ta stood in the command center, looking at the images on the floating screens. They showed the stars around Earth, and in the distance, tiny dots of light that were moving closer. "The Krell ships will arrive in 12 days, said Da. "Our sensors can track them even through fold space." "How many?" asked Ta. "Over 200 ships, including the Emperor's command vessel." Day's face was grim. "This is their main battle fleet." News of Earth's survival had spread quickly. Hana had sent messages to all the human colonies. Ships were already on their way, bringing weapons and fighters, but they wouldn't arrive in time. Minji had barely left the control center since learning about her father. She sat near the pillar of light, talking softly as if Jun could hear her. "We need to prepare for battle," said Ta. "Show me Earth's defenses." Day brought up new images on the screens. They showed massive weapons built into mountains and hidden under the new oceans. "The ancients included defense systems in their world ships," explained Da. "We've been repairing and upgrading them for 50 years. Will it be enough?" "Against a normal fleet, yes. Against the Emperor's armada." Da shook his head. "We don't know." Ta's communication device beeped. It was a message from Nova Colony. "We intercepted a Krell transmission," said Quan's voice. "You need to hear this." A recording played. The harsh sounds of the Krell language filled the room. Jin, the science officer, listened carefully. "They're talking about Earth," she said. "They're calling it the last engine." "What does that mean?" asked Ta. "I think they're saying Earth has the last working planetary engine," said Jin. "They've been hunting these world ships for centuries." "But why?" asked Da. "What do they want with them?" Gil wheeled himself closer to the group. "The Krell are planet hunters. They don't just conquer worlds. They collect them. The technology of the ancients is their greatest prize. So they don't want to destroy Earth," said Ta. "They want to capture it." "Yes," said Gil, "and the people on it." Minji suddenly called out from her place by the pillar of light. "Something's happening." The pillar began to pulse, changing from white to blue, then green. Strange symbols appeared in the air around it. "It's June," said Gil, his eyes wide. "He's trying to communicate." The symbols changed rapidly, forming patterns that no one could read. Then they suddenly rearranged themselves into words. "Danger. Emperor comes. Old enemy." "He knows the Krell Emperor," asked Ta. "More than engines. Earth changing. Becoming like ancients." "What does that mean?" Minji reached toward the symbols, her fingers passing through them. "Needy more time. Needy help. Nji help." The symbols faded. The pillar returned to its normal white glow. "My father wants me to help him," said Minji. "But how?" Gil looked troubled. "There is a way. The system needs a new guide, a new consciousness to replace June's fading one. Someone with a strong connection to him might be able to take his place." "You mean I could connect to the system?" asked Minji. "Like my father did." "It's dangerous," warned Gil. "The human mind isn't meant to exist that way." June held on because of his knowledge of the system and his will to protect Earth. Even so, he's fading after 50 years. "I'll do it," said Minji without hesitation. "Mother, no," said Ta. "There must be another way." "There isn't time to find one," said Minji. "The Krell will be here in less than 2 weeks, and my father needs me." Day stepped forward. "Even if you connect to the system, we still need to hold off the Krell fleet long enough for Earth to move again." Tai straightened his shoulders. "Then we fight. We call every human ship within range. We prepare every weapon. And we give my mother the time she needs." As they spoke, one of the screens changed to show a new image. A massive ship at the front of the Krell fleet. It was unlike the others, covered in what looked like pieces of different planets. "The Emperor's vessel," said Gil quietly, "built from parts of all the worlds they've taken. And now they want Earth to complete their collection." 8 days until the Krell arrived. Earth hummed with activity as everyone prepared for the coming battle. Hana led Minji through a narrow tunnel that few people knew about. It went deeper than even the control center, winding down into darkness. "My grandfather showed me this place when I was young," said Hana. "He said only family should know about it." The tunnel opened into a small round room. Unlike the control center with its advanced technology, this place looked ancient. The walls were rough stone with strange symbols carved into them. In the center was a pool of glowing blue liquid. "What is this?" asked Minji, staring at the pool. "The ancients called it the heart," said Hana. "It's where Earth's true consciousness lies." Minji looked confused. "I thought the control center was the heart of the planetary engine." "The control center manages the physical engines," explained Hana. "But this place connects to something deeper. The ancients didn't just build engines into their world ships. They made them alive." Minji stepped closer to the pool. The blue liquid moved slightly, as if responding to her presence. "Earth is alive?" she asked. "Not like you or me," said Hana. "But yes, and it's growing more aware every day. That's what my great-grandfather discovered. When he connected himself to the system, he didn't just guide Earth's movement. He woke it up. The liquid in the pool began to rise, forming a small pillar. It twisted and turned, taking different shapes. "It's trying to communicate," said Hannah. Suddenly, the liquid formed a face that looked like June's. The lips moved, but no sound came out. Minji reached toward it. "Father." The face shifted and changed, becoming something less human. The features smoothed out until it was just a simple outline. "Earth is learning," said Hannah. "For 50 years, it has been absorbing my great-grandfather's memories and knowledge. Now it's trying to become something more." "This is what he meant about Earth changing," said Minji. "Becoming like the ancients." "Yes, the ancients evolved beyond physical form. They became one with their world ships. That's why their technology seems so strange to us. It wasn't built for bodies like ours. And my father is helping Earth do the same thing. He's trying, but his consciousness is fading. The process isn't complete." Minji watched as the liquid returned to the pool. "What happens if I connect to the system? Will I help finish what my father started?" "We think so," said Hannah. "You share his blood, his memories. The system might accept you as a continuation of him." They returned to the upper levels, where Tai and Jin were studying maps of space around Earth. 5 human ships had arrived from nearby colonies with more on the way. It wouldn't be enough against the Krell fleet. "We need something more," said Ta. "Some advantage they won't expect." Jin looked up from her screens. "I've been analyzing Earth's changes over the past 50 years. The planet isn't just healing, it's transforming. The continents are shifting in specific patterns." She showed them images of Earth from above. The continents had moved in ways that created strange symbols when seen from space. "These matched the ancient symbols," said Hannah in surprise. "Earth is remaking itself according to their design." "But what does it mean?" asked Ta. A low rumble shook the room. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Earthquake?" asked Ta. Jin checked her sensors. "No, something else. Something's happening on the surface." They rushed to a viewing chamber that showed live images from outside. The mountains visible from their underground home were moving. Slowly, like huge animals waking from sleep, they shifted and reshaped themselves. "The awakening has started," said Hannah, her voice filled with awe. "Earth is trying to defend itself." "But it's too soon," said Minji. "The Krell aren't here yet." "Earth senses them coming," said Hannah. "It's preparing. But the process is chaotic without proper guidance." She turned to Minji. "We can't wait any longer. If you're going to connect with the system, it needs to be now." Minji took a deep breath and nodded. "I'm ready. Tell me what to do." Hannah led her back toward the control center. "You need to understand something first. Once you connect, you might never be able to return to your human form. Are you willing to make that sacrifice?" Minji thought of her father, giving up everything to save Earth. "Yes," she said. "I am." 3 days until the Krell arrived. The sky above Earth had changed. It looked like a storm was brewing, but there were no clouds, only darkness gathering at the edges of space. "That's the front edge of their fleet dropping out of Fold space," explained Dai as they watched from the command center. Tai had been working nonstop, coordinating the 15 human ships that had managed to reach Earth. They hovered in orbit, ready to fight despite being outnumbered. "The connection chamber is ready," said Gil, wheeling himself into the room. "We've prepared everything according to the old records." Minji stood by the window, watching the strange storm in the sky. She hadn't said much since making her decision. "Mother," said Tai, coming to stand beside her, "you don't have to do this. We can find another way." "There is no other way," Minji said softly. "And not much time." A flash of light bloomed in the sky, bright enough to make them shield their eyes. "What was that?" asked Ta. Jin checked the sensors. "A ship just arrived. It's coming in fast, not using standard approach vectors." On the screen, They could see a large vessel breaking through Earth's atmosphere. It wasn't one of the 15 ships they were expecting. It was much bigger. "That's a command carrier," said Ty in surprise. "From Nova." The ship landed on a flat area near the mountain entrance. When its doors opened, a familiar figure stepped out. Quan. Todd couldn't believe his eyes. "What is he doing here?" They went to meet the ship. Quan stood at the head of 50 heavily armed soldiers. "I couldn't let you face this alone," he said to Ta. "The council voted. We brought every weapon we could spare." "You were against this mission," said Ta. Quan smiled grimly. "I was wrong. When word spread about Earth, about what your grandfather did, people wanted to help. This is our home too." More ships appeared in the sky, not just from Nova, but from every human colony within reach. Not all would arrive before the Krell, but many would. "Humanity is coming home," said Hannah. Back in the command center, Jill and Hannah prepared the connection system. In the center of the room, they had built a special chair surrounded by strange equipment. "This will help channel your consciousness into the planetary system," Jill explained to Minji. "It's based on what June used 50 years ago, but we've made improvements. The process should be easier, less painful." "Will I still be me?" asked Minji. Gil hesitated. "Your consciousness will expand. You'll become part of Earth, but also remain yourself. At least at first. Over time, the separation might fade. Like my father." "Yes, but having you there might help stabilize him too. Give him more time." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Jin rushed to the screens. "The Krell Vanguard has arrived. 6 ships entering orbit." Ta grabbed his weapon. "Earlier than we expected. They must have sent faster ships ahead of the main fleet." He turned to his mother. "We need to hurry." "I'm ready," said Minji. She hugged her son tightly. "Lead our people well." "I will, Mother," said Ta, his voice breaking. "I promise." Minji sat in the connection chair. Gil and Hannah attached sensors to her head and hands. "Focus on your memories of Earth," instructed Gil. "And on your father. The system will find those connections and use them." Outside, the first explosions lit up the sky as Krell ships exchanged fire with human defenders. "Now," shouted Ta to the technicians. Gil activated the system. The chair began to glow with blue light, the same color as the liquid in the heart pool. Minji gasped as energy flowed through her body. "I can feel it," she whispered. "I can feel Earth." The ground beneath them trembled, not violently, but like a sleeping giant stirring. "It's working," said Gil. "Earth is responding to her." Minji's eyes opened wide. They glowed with the same blue light that surrounded her. "I see him," she said, her voice strangely distant. "I see my father. He's waiting for me." The blue light grew brighter, enveloping Minji completely. Her body seemed to become transparent, then translucent, and then she was gone. The chair stood empty. But in the air where she had been, a faint shimmer remained. And when it spoke, it had Minji's voice, layered with something older and deeper. "Earth remembers," it said. "Earth awakens, and Earth fights." The Krell Emperor's massive ship hung in space above Earth. It was bigger than a city, built from pieces of 100 captured worlds. Around it, the rest of the Krell fleet had arrived, over 200 warships ready to attack. In Earth's command center, Todd watched the screens with Quan, Hannah, and Gil. The human ships fought bravely, but they were being destroyed one by one. "We can't hold them off much longer," said Quan. "We don't need to," said Gil. "Look." On another screen, they could see the surface of Earth changing. Mountains were rising and falling like waves in the ocean. Forests moved like they were made of liquid. The ground itself seemed alive. "Minji is controlling the planet now," said Hannah. She and June together. The blue shimmer that had been Minji appeared again, floating in the air before them. "The Emperor comes," it said in Minji's voice, but deeper and stranger than before. He has hunted the world ships for 10,000 years. Earth is the last one he needs. Can you move Earth again? Asked Ta. Take it somewhere safe. No, said the voice. Too many ships above us. Their gravity anchors are too strong. On the screens, they could see huge beams of light shooting from the Krell ships down to Earth's surface. Tractor beams, explained Gil. They're trying to hold Earth in place. Then we fight, said Tai, gripping his weapon. Yes, said the voice that had been Minji. We fight. The blue shimmer faded away. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire planet shook. In the command center, they watched the screens in amazement. All around the world, the land itself was fighting back. In what had once been Asia, huge pillars of stone shot up from the ground, smashing into Krell ships that flew too low. In the new oceans, water rose in massive walls that caught smaller vessels and crushed them. Earth is defending itself, whispered Hannah. The Emperor's voice boomed through all their communication systems. It spoke in broken human language. Stop worry as ISTANC. Planet, will be collected. Humans, will CRV. Ta hit the response button. Earth is not yours to take. Leave now or be destroyed. The Emperor's ship moved closer. It fired weapons unlike any they had seen before, beams that cut through mountains like they were made of paper. All world ships belong to KRAL. UKANNOT still QOLECT1. But something was happening to Earth that the Krell had not expected. The planet's surface began to glow with blue light, the same color that had surrounded Minji. In space, human ship captains reported that the Krell vessels were suddenly unable to move. Something was holding them in place. Earth is creating its own gravity field, said Gil, reading the data on his screens. It's trapping the Krell fleet. The blue shimmer appeared again, this time larger, filling half the command center. We remember, it said, but now the voice was a mixture of Minji's and June's, and something much older. We remember what you did to our sister worlds. The planets you broke and collected. We are the last, but we will not fall. The light grew brighter. On the screens, they could see the Krell ships being pulled closer to Earth, unable to escape. Release US, demanded the Emperor. Planet cannot control such power. We are not just a planet anymore, said the voice. We are Earth awakened. What happened next? No one could have predicted. Earth itself opened up. Great cracks formed in the crust, but instead of lava, blue light poured out. The light reached into space like giant hands, grabbing the Krell ships. The Emperor's massive vessel tried to escape, firing all its weapons, but the blue light wrapped around it and began to pull. You left Earth in ruins, said the voice through every communication system. Every Krell ship could hear it. Then it moved. Now it has returned. And so have we. With a final surge of energy, Earth pulled the Emperor's ship down. Not to crash, but to be absorbed. The blue light engulfed it completely. One by one, the Krell fleet retreated, jumping into fold space to escape Earth's reach. In the command center, Tai watched as the blue shimmer slowly took a more human shape, a form that looked like both Minji and June standing together. What happens now? Tai asked them. Now, said the voice, Earth becomes what it was always meant to be, a home that can protect itself, a world that can move among the stars. And you, both of you. The shimmering figures smiled. We are Earth now, and Earth is us. Call the human ships home, Ta. It's time for our people to return. Above them, the sky cleared as the last Krell ships fled. Earth had won. And somewhere deep in its newly awakened consciousness, a mother and grandfather watched over their family and prepared to welcome humanity home.